everyone, and welcome back to the campaign diary for my Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign, Aracséa edition. In today's session, the party travel to Tourmaline, battle beasts of the Underdark, and discover something long lost and forgotten. So for those keeping track of time, this session all takes place on the 16th of Caerldin. So an easy session, this one. They had been itching for some combat and a little dungeon run of sorts, and this session certainly provided. Though I did have to do some trimming towards the end, since Dan, who is Reina's player, had to leave for a theatrical project that he is involved with over Christmas. So I decided to trim out the last third or so of the dungeon so we could just get to the good cliffhanging stopping point. So where we left it, the party had awoken at Merrin's Manor, where they had a brief discussion about the fact that the compass that they had discarded had suddenly reappeared under Reina's pillow. They discuss attempting to destroy it again, leaving it in the manor, seeing if it reappears, if they could watch it teleport, for instance, or whatever. And eventually, after concluding that they don't like this item especially inspired by Forsburn and Carl himself, they decided to just put it into the vault in Merrin's house, and just see what happens. Try and keep an eye out on Reina to see if it magically reappears on her. And it is from here that the group decide to travel to Tourmaline, eager to investigate the rumours of these abandoned mines and to see what other places in the Ten Towns kind of have in store. So they arrived to find a bustling place, much more so than anywhere else that they had visited, apart from perhaps maybe Easthaven and Brinchander. They have a small wander around and eventually head to the tavern called the Blue Clam, which I described to them as being a more classical type of like restaurant kind of location more than a tavern. And inside, there is a heated debate going on between the speaker, who is a half-orc called Orus, and some of the town guard, who seem to be blaming the recent goings-on in the area on the speaker, and kind of using it like claims of nepotism, and how his father was the speaker before is the only reason he became the speaker. A lot of really weird arguments that don't really make sense is kind of what they pull out of this. Anyway, after a bit of the back and forth between those people and then buying the speaker a drink, they find the speaker to be quite a humble guy, really. The conversation kind of moves on eventually after some brief talk about what's going on, and the conversation eventually moves on to the problems in the mines. And this is where the speaker explains that he doesn't have enough money to pay someone to investigate. He knows how much this kind of thing takes up. He's only accrued 200 gold this far, which he knows is not enough. The party agree that they will take what he has now, that's kind of like a down payment, and then Orus has agreed that he'll just has a favour to ask them later on. He'll owe them a favour later or something. And so everyone thus agrees to tackle the mines. They spend a bit of time perusing the vast market stalls that are out in Tourmaline and explore the somewhat picturesque town of Tourmaline. And they finalise the deal with Orus at his speaker's hall. And while they're in there as well, they also notice in his main office there's a lot of unusual heirlooms. That's like a suit of orcish kind of armour. There's ceremonial blades. There's like a picture of a younger Orus with they assume to be his father, and there's various other knickknacks and things there that they all kind of pick up on, but not entirely sure what any of it means. At any rate, from here they travel east to the gem mines, which is some 30 minutes outside the town, towards the western edge of the Valley of Thoradin. And it is here that we say goodbye to Dan, as he has to leave for his theatrical project, as previously mentioned. And so it's from here I kind of have to take the reins of Reina, pardon the pun, for a little bit, and also Carl later on takes control of her as well. So the blame can't be on both of us if she should eventually die or something. So begins the minor problems quest. First of all, as they approach the mines, they notice the various footfalls on the ground, namely of dwarves and strangely of reptilian prints. They also see a few dwarves face down in the mud that have obviously been left trying to flee the cave. They notice they have strange bruising around their wrists and necks, which is foreshadowing a foe that they will later face. And they head into the cave cautiously. The first few areas are kind of staging places for mining projects and various odds and ends. You know, like um, arrangements of tools and tables and things like that. And then um, after that, there is a strange arrangement of rocks in one of the caves they come to. The first interesting thing, anyway, a stalagmite. And Forsburn notices there's not a stalactite on the in the ceiling, which is normally how they're formed. Uh, Curious as he is, he approaches and, of course, is immediately attacked by this creature that was, if you're a DM at all, you probably know what this thing was anyway. It's a roper lying in wait, which was a relatively easy fight. He's more or less just a high AC opponent to get through. And I believe Dagna got the killing blow here. And this is pretty much how most of the fights went. The enemies were like all somewhat high CR creatures for them to fight, like all kind of mini boss battles. But yeah, they were easy. They were quite easy to defeat, really. They were actually quite a skilled group in terms of dealing damage, it seems. And so moving on from that, that was the next task. The next big thing that came along was a large chasm which led straight down into the Underdark, it would seem. And along the edges of this chasm were these rickety wooden walkways, and one by one they made their way carefully across, and even got attacked by a few cloakers, which are like these face-hugging, leathery winged kind of ceiling squid things, and they kind of leap on unexpected prey beneath. But they deal with them easily enough, and so they reach the the platform, barely escaping one of the bridge sections falling as well, might I add. A problem they will have to solve when they intend to return this way. And they proceed to the next section, which is a kind of dishevelled lift of sorts, and this lift allows them to reach a lower level. One of them finds that there seems to be like this fine layer of sludge, and almost acidic in nature sludge around the lift, which is the lift itself, I might add as well, is like a little more than like a large bucket on a pulley system, designed to lift up one or two dwarfs at a time, kind of thing. So from that they go down to the next level, and they have two options. To the right of them there was like some sort of strange bird chirping sort of noises, and to the left was more of this sludge. They decide to go right first, and they sneak up on a few gricks, which are like these weird floating brains with tentacles with like bird beaks, and they get actually they get a pretty nice surprise round on these gricks, and are able to dispatch them in like a round or two. It doesn't take long at all. Really, really well rolled there from like Forsburn and various other sneaky people. And after that, they all hear something in their heads, and it's saying something to protect the little ones, whatever that means. And sure enough, as they turn around, they see that a Utiog appears and attacks them. And it is here, during this fight, that Reyna gets affected by the disease that the Utiog inflicts. Something that Reyna will have to discover more about in next session when it all starts to kick in. I did the foolish thing here and told Dan when he come back that he has a disease, whereas I should just kept it stum and then just let the effects happen, and he have to wonder about it later rather than me tell him, yo, your disease, because now he knows when he's running for something he's got to think about it. But hey, that was faulty on my part. From there, they continue on into the next room, and they see like 14 dead kobolds on the floor, and they seem to have like their brains exploded from the inside. They don't really spend a lot of time here. They're just kind of thinking, was that thing meant to be protecting these guys, or was it, or did it go wrong somehow? Or so. It is then here where I had to skip a lot of what I had planned in the night, as the session was needed to come to a close pretty soon, and because it was getting late, and I didn't want to do this next big fight without Dan present. So Up next came a change in geology, and long story short, it appears that the dwarves mining here had come across a large fossilized illithid ship that was buried deep beneath the ground. And I describe the rocks as being like hive-like, organized like into cells and like into like honeycomb kind of things. And after some time traveling in this organic rockscape, they come across a massive chamber which is uh, basically like a big cryo kind of chamber along the walls. And at the end of this chamber, they are lured in by this glowing purple crystal, which is on some sort of embedded into some sort of elongated skull. The skull that Mutiny identifies as an illithid, and she's the one who puts it together that this is an illithid ship. Being the most worldly of the party, like the rest are pretty much completely new to the whole wider world stuff in Aracséa, whereas Mutiny's probably got a bit more idea about the stuff outside of just the Frostgales itself. And this is where the entire party kind of figured out, you know, what was going on here, and then. And when I say that as well, this is the players, not the characters, figuring out what was going on. The players figuring, oh okay, this is like a cryo chamber. Oh dear. And it's from here I had to end the game with the following reveal, and they all hear a voice in their head, each hear like a mixture of voices from people they know in their memory. It's how I describe it. They hear the words, "You shall not have the artifact." And descending from the darkness above them is a giant eye, followed by 6 tentacles, each with their own eyes. And yes, you've guessed it, it is a beholder, to which Carl does quite audibly say out loud, like, "What the hell are you doing, Chris?" Like, kind of thing. And of course, it's not a full-on beholder. It'll be a de-leveled one. I found a nice magic-eating variant, which I will talk about next time. And the idea is one of these creatures. This creature was drawn here by the psi crystal, which is embedded in the illithid skull. That has all of a sudden become active. It would have been dormant before, and the players will find out next session when someone touches it, as I've made a little audio cue for them, that it's active due to the crash of the Iridescendant from earlier in the campaign, a site that they have seen and we have talked about in an earlier diary. And yeah, there's like a little message that they will get when they touch it, and we'll have a little talk about that next time. And so yeah, that was pretty much all that happened in that one. It was a brief and not terribly detailed, I have to admit, but I'm quite eager to see progress with the main story plots. And this was just a more chilled session. We haven't played in a while, gets into the ways of combat, and it kind of feels weird when you have a player missing, really, to sort of do that kind of thing. And yeah, we'll pick up next time with the Beholder fight. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the illithid ship here, some little lore bits about Aracséa. So illithids, as some people might know, have like these nautiloids, and in Aracséa, in my world, they come. Illithids are basically they are ETs. They come from another planet. They come from somewhere else, and in fact, what the origin stories of humans, excuse me, in Aracséa is that humans ages and ages ago were brought here as slaves by the illithid, and it's the humans, so the humans themselves are ETs, and I've always liked doing that in all of my written worlds. The humans have always been from somewhere else or born of like evil in some way, this kind of original sin idea. But in Aracséa, they are aliens in themselves. Humans were brought here by illithids, and this ship that they've stumbled into would have been thousands and thousands of years old, super duper old, and somehow the dwarves have stumbled across one that's been buried up here. What they're going to do with that information, if they should clear this out, if they're going to, you know, I don't know, tell it to the Arcanus when they eventually meet them so they can go investigate. There's a bunch of cool things here, and this is really what the aim of Rime has been, apart from being like a kind of lead into my second campaign that I want to run, which we will go over campaign 1 notes pretty soon. I will get Dan on board and we can do a little catch up with how that's gone. Um, and then I will talk about where it's going to go as well. And then they've got this campaign that will lead into my second campaign where we'll do diaries for that as well. And yeah, so from um, yeah, this campaign, the big goal here, one of the big goals, which is get people, new people, interested in various lore aspects of Aracséa. Of course, we've got a story to tell, but it's also I also wanted to just get people interested into like various things I've done to change things up. And a lot of this, a lot of the stuff in the Frostgales that you might have already seen has kind of been like a tour of the various lore bits and bobs that we've come. That will come around. Like we've got Inari bits going on. We will have a Charnur thing come up. I don't remember if I've talked about that stuff yet. There's a big bit coming up at the end. There's various different bits and bobs all firing off, all different lore bits. So yeah, it's been interesting. So anyway, like I said, we'll pick up next time with the Beholder fight. This has been session 14, a minor problem, and I will see you guys hopefully next time.